It is April 27th, 2024. It is Drew Jays Talk. We are a month into the Jay season. I'm Drew Dudley. With me, as always, in the other direction is Andrew Sorley. Andrew, how are you feeling, my friend?
Well, Drew, it's been a heck of a month of baseball, hasn't it?
I would
I'm
say
just glad
so.
that
I
we
would
get
say
to
so.
talk. Yeah, yeah.
I'm pretty thrilled. Our heroes, the Jays, have played 8 games since you and I last talked, 3-5, taken 2 of 3 from the Padres, and then right on with your prediction, 1 out of 4 from the Royals. And then, although I was not watching it, I was at the Rangers Capitals game 3 last night, and I haven't had a chance to watch the game yet. I understand it's probably not worth doing so. They got themselves handed a buttload of whooping from the Los Angeles Dodgers last evening. So our heroes are 3-5. I believe they're 1 game below 500 on the season. We're a month in. First thoughts, big guy.
Well, first thoughts are baseball's still fun. I love baseball. And I was just going to say I didn't watch the game last night either, which is uncharacteristic. I mean, usually both you and I are watching and texting, but I actually went to a sports card expo yesterday,
Oh,
which was
sweet.
a real fun experience. I met a guy who it's I don't know if you've ever been. If you haven't been, a sports kit expo is all these individual booths. There, some of them are 10 by 10. There's a couple that are bigger, but not many. There's a couple hundred. I don't know, 600, 700 booths of people who are just got these cards and they're selling them to other fans. Incredible community that I've actually strangely never interacted with in person. So it was a really cool experience. But yeah, I had my phone buzzing, and you know, our uh, our special guest from last week, Charlie, he was at the game last night. Got to see Shohei in person, and got to see the drubbing as it was. Right off the bat, I'll tell you, I knew it was going to happen. I texted a few friends saying I hope it doesn't happen. You know how I feel about booing, Drew. Our Toronto faithful decided to try and show Shohei Otani how this was gonna go. You're in our house now, and they proceeded to boo him. And what did he do? He said, "Okay, how about I just hit a home run off Chris Bassett?" And proceeded to frankly own us.
I think it's kind of like, yeah, I think you pretty much hit it on the head. It was very Batista-like of him, that
Yeah,
particular maneuver. That was 100% when I saw that highlight. All I could think of was, you throw behind Jose and then you get one ripped into the upper deck. So it was very much that. And you know what? Honestly, man, like, look, Jays, obviously. I mean, I'm not dressed like it today. Jays are my team, but there was a little part of me that just out of like who recognized a beautiful moment and could
yeah.
appreciate that beautiful moment to be like, yeah, to hell with you. I thought it was great, man.
Going back to that fateful day, we've talked about it at length, but the day that Shohei was reported to be on this airplane headed to Toronto, and we were all tracking this airplane, and then it turned out to be one of the Dragons' Den. Robert, what's his face? Robert, whatever.
I don't know if you put an H and a J next to each other, I
Yeah,
have no idea what it is.
Herjavec. Yeah, yeah.
Herjavec, yeah.
Thank. Anyways, um, Shohei never said to us, "Hey guys, I'm coming to Toronto."
Yeah.
This was all a creation of a rabid fan base. This was a creation of frankly, a loose cannon journalist, if you can even call him a journalist. And we bought it. We bought rumors hook, line, and sinker, and then we got ourselves so upset when he didn't come, and now we're booing him. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair. I don't like it. If Shohei had come to us, do you remember there was one player, and this is an older story that I think you and I, generationally, we were just like a hair different in terms of who our core Jays were. But there was one pitcher who we were trying to sign, and I remember specifically the sort of talk of the town was, "Hey, we can't afford him." And then I feel like some of the guys, and forgive me, I'm probably not getting this right, but some of the guys like Jose Bautista kind of passed the hat around and said, "Hey, how about put a little salary into this bucket just in attempts to sign this guy. Do you remember who I'm talking about now? I should look this up before
It,
I.
it wasn't David Price, was it?
No, no, no. It was pretty well before that. It was a
Yeah.
pitcher. Anyway,
If you know
uh,
it, put it in the comments, everybody. If you know the answer to this.
I should know. Frankly, I didn't prepare, but before I tell you the story, but uh, I want to say it's like Cabrera or something. It doesn't matter who it was. Um, my memory is just a little foggy right now, but for the point of the story, that guy indicated, "Hey, I'm coming to Toronto," and then all the Jays kind of put their money together. I remember this. The player's like, "I'll give back some of my salary just to have him," um, and then he pulled a 180 and said, "Nah, just kidding. I'm gonna go to another team." That guy you can boo because that guy actually I think used the Jays to get a better offer. Frankly, I don't think Shohei did that. Um, and then there's the whole betting scandal thing. It's just you know what this is. I don't know why we do this, True, but this is a special. Like this is watching Babe Ruth in real life. This is what I said to Charlie last night. This is watching Babe Ruth in real life, and you're gonna boo him. Do you think we would? Do you think we would have booed Babe Ruth? I don't
Yeah,
know.
probably at the time.
Yeah,
But it would
you
have been
figure.
like that. It would have been like the booing that Boston gave Jeter. That begrudging, almost like a show of respect. I think is that boost, and then you see what happens on his last at bat. Right, that's when you get in Fenway, you get that great moment where some of the toughest fan bases ever. See, that's what's great about sports, right? When Jeter finished at that last at bat at Fenway, they gave him a standing O, and it lasted quite a while, right?
Yeah.
That's I think what was happening. The question I got to ask you, man, were they booing Shohei, or were they just demonstrating their frustration in? Because I don't think that I think Shohei's going to get booed every time he comes to Toronto, just because Toronto's going to see it as something that we do, right? Like it's fun to do it because you're booing the world's greatest player and you know it. Uh, but I do wonder, were they booing Shohei Ohtani last night, or were they booing the front office last night and just demonstrating their utter frustration at the off season? What do you think, man? Like, was there part of both of them in there?
Here's my honest answer. I don't care who they were directing it at. It seems like such a wasted energy, and it also seems like an embarrassment to just our city and our country. If we're the hey, we're playing for a country, and this is the treatment the fans give a global superstar. To me, it's just tacky. Um, if you want to show the front office some disdain, just don't buy a ticket. Like, just go watch hockey or something. I don't care. I'm super against booing, Drew. I'm trying to change the tide. Um, Probably
All
won't
right.
work.
So,
I'm
so
I'm
did
old
you
man yelling on I'm old man yelling on a porch.
did you ever boo anyone at all? Like in the history of the Jays, like is there or sports for you? Is there some nemesis, like maybe who earned it? I think
It's a
I
great
boo
question.
like I boo Roger Clemens.
Oh, I
Uh,
for sure booed Alex Rodriguez, 100%. You can call
that's
me
what I was going to
guilty.
ask, man.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
the ultimate villain, right? Like
yeah,
because there's guys I booed just because they're so good, right? Like
yeah.
I've given
I
Aaron Judge a
remember
boo, but it's more like respect for like,
it's
yes, you're
like it's
that
up for the
good, man.
cap. I
Yeah.
remember being a young fan and hearing other people booing and just being like, okay, I guess this is what we're doing. Boo! But I don't even know what we're doing. Um, but I think once you understand that well, here's what the boo is, then I think yeah, just don't do it. To me. But to each their own. I think it's a great question. I do think the fans were booing Shohei. I doubt that they were booing the front office, but who knows?
Maybe they were
Um,
saying boo earns.
Maybe they were saying, I don't know. I
Are you
ran out of steam.
saying boo? Are you saying boo or boo earns?
I do have to say, Drew, what a special player, and the fact that he's recovering from Tommy John surgery and still just like, you know what, no big deal. I'll still be the number one, two, three, or maybe five best player in the leagues. Who do you know that is a pitcher who's recovering from Tommy John and also still cranking out amongst the leaguing homers? Um,
There's there's been three. There's been two or three in history, right?
in
I
history.
apologize. No, like you're right. It's only two really, because Josh Gibson didn't pitch
Yeah.
in the old Negro Leagues. He was a catcher, right? So, you know, from what I understand, those are the most transcendent players, like who are at a different level. And Barry Bonds, right?
Right.
Barry Bonds, even if he couldn't pitch, and let's face it, man, like he clearly was juicing, but he also was a Hall of Famer before he started juicing. And I'm not as hardcore on the drug stuff. I'm more like when you're a complete jackass is when like I want
Yeah.
Kurt Schilling not in the Hall of Fame before I don't want but Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I have no time for Kurt Schilling. Um, Shohei Ohtani, 7 homers, 17 RBI. He's got, and this is just on a 1 month old season, by the way. He's already got 14 doubles.
14,
In
and I thought
he's got
Justin Turner
14
was lighting it
doubles.
up.
In 1 month, Drew, he's got 40 hits, 40. The baseball season's 6 months old, so you can say, hey, he's likely to hit 240 hits. That's obscene. I'd have to do some research. I don't know the numbers, but now he's got 23 strikeouts. That's no big deal. 14 walks. That's a pretty big number too. So the guy gets on base. OPS of 1100. He's a special player, frankly.
No, that and you know what? I can't wait to go and get a chance to see him. It's why we were so excited. It, you know what? I think you made a great point there. Shohei Ohtani did nothing disrespectful to Toronto except consider them. You know what I mean? And let's face it, the guy lives in California already. If you've been to California in the spring and the fall, and if you've been to that part of California as well, as compared to the 125 degrees of Toronto sometimes. I mean, I know they're in the dome and stuff, but honestly, man, I the guy got offered $500 million to go play in LA for a team that is frankly better than the Toronto Blue Jays. And like that's being said, I love the Jays, but I mean nobody's arguing that the Dodgers aren't the best baseball team that we've seen in a long time. And that's why I'm so excited to see the Jays play them, because I think the Jays can beat the best baseball team. I think they can. Can they do it, 2/3 of the time? Can they do it half the time? No. But I think in a 7-game series, with the pitching the Jays have, they can beat anybody. If if the hitting regresses or not regresses, moves to the mean. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, I agree with you, and I think to myself, if I'm Shohei and I'm trying to decide which team do I want to sign with, and this is, you and I are both lifelong Jays fans, you got to give the guy the benefit of the doubt that maybe he just really was attracted to the Dodgers. I mean, maybe they just made a better overall offer, right? And I don't think that's boo worthy. We had
and look, man, I work in both the United States and Canada. I will tell you, the tax situation is freakishly different. All right, like not even close. Like if the Jays had made the same offer on a financial level, it still did make it wasn't a toss. It's not a toss up. Like we're
right.
talking like millions and millions and millions of dollars in the tax difference. Wow, Drew Jay's talk just got super interesting about sports, right? Now we're going to talk about marginal tax brackets. But yeah,
Well,
it's not even it's a no-brainer if you got offered the same amount of money. The Jays would have to offer more, and I don't know.
well, let's just take this next half hour to work out the capital gains appreciation when you break it down over 10 years compared to Drew. We had a decent month of baseball, and I think I was going to ask you this, like, what's been the biggest surprise of April 2024 for you? While you're thinking about it, I'm just going to go ahead and say the Houston Astros. If you were going to tell me they're in last place, pretty much in the American League, except for the White Sox, I'd be pretty stunned by that.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Astros?
I think that what really gets me is that it's really hard, no matter how good a lineup you have, when you get decimated in your pitching area and in the area of pitching. And I think that, look, you can argue whatever you want about the fact that most of the individuals who are hurt were also at a point in their careers where they could very well not have been any good this year. Like Verlander at some point, maybe will stop being Verlander. At the other, maybe he will, like maybe he'll stay who he is. It looks to me as if Justin Verlander and some of the other folks in Houston are the types of pitchers who will pitch effectively into their 30s. They've proven that, whether that's new technology, whether it's new research that they do, whether it's just that they are, that generational type of player. But I think without starting pitching, Like, imagine if the Jays didn't have one of the best rotations in baseball, even with a bit of, because let's face it, they got bombed last night, but even on the games they lost in Kansas City, these were good starts. Like, the Jays have
Oh,
a
they were
great
close games.
rotation.
Yeah, yeah.
Imagine if the Jays rotation was average. And that's what we're really talking about when you talk about Houston.
You can make an argument, by the way, that the rain really stole Game 4 from the Jays. It could have very well swung right back in our favor. Game 4 could have. Um, but yeah, no, you're bang on. Now, my good buddy, my good fantasy buddy, the Hound Dog, Chris Bassett, he's had a couple of rough goes, but um, yeah, I mean, I don't envy any pitcher, Blue Jays or otherwise, against that Dodgers lineup. But yeah, sorry, I took us on a tangent. Surprise of the month. Like, what's your sort of big surprise of the month?
Math. Math is a surprise of my month, man. Math and how it is lying to me, and how the fact that I have been on this show for 2 years now, or a year and a bit now, arguing about regression to the mean, arguing about this has got to be an outlier, arguing about the fact that players who have performed at a certain level their whole careers are simply not. Taking a look at the fact that when you take a look at how the balls are being hit, how hard and where they're being hit, the Jays should have a 50-point higher on base percentage. They should be scoring this many more runs. When you factor in all the underlying statistics, I've been arguing for now, since we started this show, it's going to be okay because math works. Over 162 games, everything works itself out to where it's supposed to be. Then it didn't happen last year. Okay, math is also weird. Sports are weird. Sometimes there's strange outliers, right? Like,
Right,
it's possible the Dodgers could lose 100 games. Like, it's not going to happen, but it's possible, right? Because it just doesn't come together. Remember the 2013 Blue Jays, right?
right.
So like, you can look great on paper, it doesn't work out. And now we're another month into another season, and it's the same thing. Like, math continues to not do what math has done since the beginning of the universe, which is workout. And we're not seeing a return to the mean for runners in scoring position. We are not seeing, even though Vladdy's hitting 100-mile-per-hour shots faster than anyone else in baseball, with the exception of maybe two people, he's still hitting two whatever. Like, that has been the biggest surprise for me, is that what I feel was a statistically unlikely group of trends that affected the Toronto Blue Jays last year are continuing to do so. And either math isn't working, or everything that came between for these players, or came before for these players, was a mirage. And that seems so unlikely. But that's what's been my biggest surprise, man, is that math doesn't seem to be working. And it's really frustrating me, because I will continue to do this, and I will continue to take hope that a team that is full of players who hit 260 for their career will not continue to hit 198 for runners in scoring position.
Right.
All I can do is believe, man. But why is it not happening? It's now been another month and nothing has changed.
Well, I said to you, sort of my biggest surprise was Houston being in the basement of the AL West. Another positive surprise, and again, we're sticking away from Blue Jays a little bit today, but we did just see some really nice ball from the Kansas City Royals. They lost 100 and change games last year. Let me tell you the number. They won 56 and they lost 106 last year. All of a sudden, they're playing 17 and 10. They're playing 630 baseball in one
Yeah.
season, right? They had
Well,
Bobby Witt last year. They have him again
yeah.
this year.
Yeah.
Um, pretty
I
pretty
think
pretty special player.
Kansas City and Tampa Bay are always going to be those teams that, you almost feel bad for, because they're so good at developing players, because they have to be, and then they just can't keep them, right? Like, that's one thing the NBA does particularly well, I've actually thought, is that they make it a little bit easier for all of their teams to keep their homegrown players, giving them the ability to pay more than other teams could pay. Whether you choose to or not is up to you, but you're
Mhm.
actually able to give bigger contracts than other people can't. Makes it harder to poach. So I've always been really impressed with them. I've always been impressed because they build teams for their stadium, which I think is magnificent. They build speed, they build defense. And that's what we saw from the Jays and the Royals, right? Was speed and defense and pitching.
Yeah.
And it was sort of a flashback to me. But yeah, that's a great young team. That's an amazing young player. It's the speed and the power thing, like that's so special. Like even Babe Ruth and even well, Shohei's got wheels too, right? But Shohei's got everything. But there's just something that's mythical about those players, the Ricky Hendersons who got pop and who can fly, Ellie De La Cruz, right? Like these are players that even when they're not hitting 300, every time they come up to the plate, there's this little tension, right? Because they could take one into the gap and they could have that beautiful part of baseball, right? When you line one into the gap and you can tell this isn't just a double, this is more than a double. Like that's one of my favorite moments in baseball where you're like inside the park, maybe, but this could probably be a triple. And those guys, when they step to the plate, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this could be one of those incredibly exciting baseball moments. Now, with the Jays outfield, it's less likely, which I do enjoy. But that to me, overall, man, it's just it was low scoring against the Royals, but it's been low scoring everywhere. Like the league average OPS is hovering around what 700, 710, and maybe it's just the weather, maybe it's just April,
Yeah.
man. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Any
Well,
other surprises for you?
you mentioned the Jays outfield. Obviously, we saw Kiermaier go down with an injury, and of course Addison Barger gets called up, and that's fun. I watched a couple of Addison's games, and of course, I don't know if you saw the clip, but he hit a line drive off of Kansas City pitcher Alec Marsh, and hurt him real good. I don't celebrate anyone get injured, but geez, like uh, 90 some odd mile comebacker right off the guy's elbow. I feel terrible for the pitcher, but I'm intrigued to see Barger now. He started in left field this week, which was an interesting choice because he's never played in the outfield in his entire career. Um, I, maybe got to put him somewhere. But the
John
guy can
John
the guy
John Schneider will play it. He'll take a throw, won't he?
yeah. Well, and but then you got Dalton Varsho out there, just being an absolute beast of an outfielder. Um, fun to watch play, and I read, I don't know the exact story, but I read that Springer's injured too. Um, so maybe our outfield in April uh was a little bit more special than it might be in May. We'll see.
I got to tell you, man, there are two things that I'm really happy about. Even, we're looking at a 500 record or a little bit under 500. It could easily be three, and it really could, right? And so I want to look at the positive side.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
J people are like, oh, the Jays don't have this, they don't have that. I'm like, yeah, they're one game under 500, and nothing is working. So this team is better than you think it is because they're one game under 500 and they cannot hit.
yeah.
And so let's look at that as a good thing. Like I understand, but like, oh well, you get caught behind in April. Yeah, but like, don't forget, Tampa Bay was what 23-6 or something last April
Yeah,
or something,
yeah.
and came back to the pack. So again, coming back to the pack. But there's two things that I'm really happy about on a longer term thing. The first is Dalton Varsho is off to a great start, and I'm thrilled for him because knowing how bad that trade was, and how well both of those players fit into Arizona and Gurriel and Moreno, and how good Moreno's clearly going to be. Is Varsho, if he stayed on such a slow pace, was going to start taking it from the fans for something that was not his fault. And I want Dalton Varsho to be a solid player, not just because I'm a Jays fan, but because he represents something that Jays fans, I think, will have a problem with for a long time. And if he can turn into a really solid baseball player, which I think he is defensively, I'm glad to see that it doesn't look like he's going to be held accountable for that trade if he can continue to play, not necessarily at this level, but at a solid level. So that's one thing I'm really happy about. Second thing I'm really happy about is it seems like the most popular Jays are the new Jays. It seems as if Schneider and Clement really
Clement.
have, yeah, have really endeared themselves to Toronto fans. And so this would be a hard season if fans hated those guys. You know what I mean? It's always been a
Well,
difficult offseason already, but the fans have been so great to embrace because really these are the guys that we got instead of Otani, instead of a big name bat. These are the guys that we got. And so that could be taken out on them. And it's not. They actually are the most popular players on the team in many ways, along with, I think, Justin Turner by the end. But the most popular Jays are the new Jays. And I think that's because there's a bit of a stain on the old team. And they're like, as we talked about off the top, there seems to be a bit of a negativity about them. And they didn't do anything except, I guess, lose in the playoffs. But yeah, those are two things I'm happy about because I think it's overall good for the experience of this season.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, do you remember when uh you know, Munenori was doing all those funny interviews, right? And the Jays were middle of the pack, if not below the average, and Kawasaki would do these funny interviews, and people fell in love with them, right? And I think there's sort of, like, I keep on hearing, oh, these guys are roommates, you know, Schneider and Clement. Oh, you know, the perfect boyfriend. Uh, this is not baseball talk. This is like flimsy marketing, and you know, if you want to be a baseball fan, I think you gotta look at the stats, Drew. Right? Like our leaders are Turner, Varsho, Springer, Guerrero, and Bichette in terms of OPS. Um, you know,
Although the third in row for OPS there is not exactly killer. It's like
he's
we
not
got
killing it. Yeah,
Turner, Varsho below 700.
a little break, yeah.
Yeah,
But you know, I just say this to say, you know, like, we still do have some pretty damn good guys on our team, right? Like,
without a doubt.
Turner's doing great, of course. Bo Bichette's gonna turn it on. Like, I have no doubt. So is Vladdy. They both are. Um, but yeah, when I hear people say, "Oh, Schneider, the mustache, Clement, he's so cute," I think to myself, okay, there's a Jays fan.
Hey, look,
Yeah.
we got Kiermaier in center field. We've got Clement. There's a couple of others. I'm told, and you can check in with Emily if you want, that we have the best looking team in baseball on many levels. Like, just take a step
Well,
back and just it's just a parade of hunks walking up to the plate. And you know what? If we're gonna have something, we might as well take that. We got Clement hitting 286, which isn't terrible. 763. Schneider's having a bit of a rougher go of it. He's hitting 212, but
yeah,
and not much of an
yeah.
OPS there. So it's
Hard for Schneider because they've been sitting him and then playing him and then sitting him and then moving him all over the field. So I get it. That's gonna be tough. But I'll tell you, at the Sports Card Expo yesterday, I was talking to this gentleman, and he's I think he was in his 70s, maybe even 80s, lifelong baseball fan, and we were talking about Nate Pearson, and he was quite matter of fact about Nate, and you know, because Nate's been sort of like that guy with promise for a long time, Drew. Um, Nate seems to be this guy who's supposed to be our next, you know, front of the rotation starter. Uh, he's had he's had a lot of opportunities. You know, I don't think Nate Pearson's in the same conversation as Davis Schneider, but you know, some of these guys are being given playing time, and it's time to get to work, guys. Um,
Yeah, Pearson's got an impressive ERA, 208 at this point. By the way, everyone, if you're watching this, we're doing it on Saturday, the 27th, right before the Jays play the second game against the Dodgers. If you got questions or thoughts, put them in the comments. Like and subscribe. I've been told we got to add this in more often, my friend. And but yeah,
do
Nate's
the
only pitched
liking, do the subscribing.
yeah, he's only pitched 8 2/3. He struck out 11. He's got a whip that's at 138. So, you know, he hasn't been giving up the runs. He's only appeared in 9 games. So, you know what? He's just you got electric stuff. You got electric stuff, and you're just going to keep getting the chance to do it. And then the problem is sometimes you put it together and then you don't. Like
Yeah,
Manoa, and
yeah,
then honestly, remember, you know, Aaron Sanchez
yeah,
is was one like Nate Pearson to me is the new Aaron Sanchez without the really good season thus far. And
yeah,
but let's also face it, man. Pitchers seem to mature later than the rest of the players. And one of the things that I think in all sports we're dealing with now is that we're giving up on people too quick. Like it used to be, you'd sit behind a quarterback for 3 years when you got drafted, and then you were much better. Now, if you're not one of those transcendent players, like you get it once every 1, 2, 3 years, you get thrown into one of the most complicated positions in sports, a quarterback. And now you're also doing it to pitchers, and you're putting guys up in the majors at 19, 20, 21. And then by the time they're 25, oh, well, this guy was a bust. He didn't turn out the way we hoped it was.
Right,
Look,
right.
Pearson is young. I'm frustrated as well but also with all those injuries and that unluckiness he had, he still has way less innings pitched than somebody at his age usually does, right? So it's repetition, man. Like, I didn't start hitting an MLB The Show till this year, and that's probably about 50,000 at bats. You know what I mean? So,
How have you been doing the show, by the way? We haven't even talked about the show lately.
well, I found that most people don't love listening to other people talk about their gaming, but I
I care,
I
Drew. I want to hear about it.
I will keep the listeners updated on this. I got a buddy named Adam, and we play MLB The Show. We take each other on, and we keep track of who wins each series, right? So we play best of 7 series. We try to play every night, just sort of a way to unwind. And last year he was victorious. I think we played 48 best of 7 series last year, and tells you how often I'm sitting alone in hotel rooms playing video games. And so he won the championship belt. I had a replica of the belt from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the Halloween heist episodes. I had a replica built that said outstanding baseballer / genius. And he currently owns the belt. And we are tied 8-8 this year. So if you want to know updates on the show, I'll just tell you how Adam and I are doing. We are tied 8 series apiece at present. I will keep everyone up to date because I'm really hoping that the first edition of 2025 Jays Talk, Drew Jays Talk, sorry everyone, Drew Jays Talk, I'll be holding the championship belt over the shoulder. If you smell what the dud is cooking.
If you smell what the dud is cooking, title your sex tape. Drew, we've got Kikuchi on the mound. In some metrics, our best starting pitcher this year. What is your feeling about Game 2 today? What do you think we're going to see?
Well, first thing is, isn't it nice that we have to argue over who our best pitcher is when our pitchers are good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's very, very cool. Is Gosman still the best with his pure stuff? Is Berrios because of the way he's performing? Is Kikuchi because he only seems to be getting better? You know what? These are great conversations to be having. And like Rodriguez, like, I'm sorry, this dude looks like a major league pitcher to me, especially a number 5 starter. You know what I mean? So, look, I don't know. I think the Jays are going to they're going to take one from the Dodgers. That's what I know. I will say this. The Jays are, you look at them and you're like, oh my God, the Dodgers, because I think we're comparing our hitters to the Dodgers hitters. Can't do it. If anyone is going to be able to play the Dodgers, it is not people who outslug them. It is people who are going to be able to minimize the damage that they do. The reason I worry about the Jays at this particular point in the season is because you got to put 3 or 4 runs on the board. If you put 4 or 5 runs on the board consistently with this pitching staff, especially the front end as the bullpen sorts itself out, you're going to win a bunch of games. So people look at the Jays and say the Dodgers are way better because the hitters are way better. We're not talking talent. We're just talking how they're actually performing. But let's face it, it's a very talented lineup, full stop. Ultimately, the Jays lineup isn't as good, but the pitching could handle the Dodgers lineup as well or better than any pitching staff in baseball. And I'm willing to argue that with anyone because the Jays have as good or better a pitching staff as anyone in baseball. If you keep the Dodgers scoring fewer runs, you have a better chance of beating them. That's all we can do.
Yusei has a ERA of 2.28 right now. He's thrown 3 quality starts. He's leading our team in strikeouts with 33. He's got a strikeout per 9 up over 10, not quite 11. I've been really impressed with Kikuchi, and this is a guy who quote unquote lost his job and got sent to the bullpen. Back leading our team on the starting on the starting mound, right? So I think it should
Robbie
be interesting.
Ray, baby. Robbie Ray.
Well, I think it should be interesting. Go ahead.
I was going to say, he's one of the first guys, you know how when they do the side-by-side shots where they're showing the difference in years? He's one of the rare ones because usually they show it and I'm like, I don't, yeah. They're like, see how his finger is 3/4 of an inch farther on? I'm like, no, I don't actually.
I don't see it.
But Kikuchi, you fully can. Like, you can tell it would be hard to see the ball because he holds it in behind his leg like that. So, look, man, just another tip of the cap to Pete Walker.
Pete Walker. Did we pull one win out of this series here, Drew?
Yeah, I think so. I just think with the Jays pitching, it is just really hard to sweep a pitching staff that's good. That's that good on the starting side of it. Um, and look, this is one thing that's always bugged me, and I just want to get off my chest on the show here, is that if we're going to take a look at the Jays like Vladdy and Bo and say this is who they really are because they're not performing right now, everything in the past is a mirage. We, I think, at the same time have to do the opposite for our pitching. Okay, if it's how you're doing right now that matters, because there's this all the naysayers that like, oh my God, if the Jays pitching doesn't hold up, they're in deep trouble. Why should we assume it won't hold up? You know what I mean? It'll go through rough patches. But if we're going to assume that the Jays bats just suck, then we also have to assume our pitchers are awesome because that's the way things are right now.
Right.
And I think I don't understand why we always assume the good will disappear and that the bad will be permanent. And so I just want to say to everyone listening, of course we're going to win one game against the Dodgers. We have amazing starting pitching and we should celebrate that.
Well, and we're going to see Tyler Glasnow today in really just a few minutes. And I just did a super quick Google. Glasnow has a 0-4 record with a 6.86 ERA in 4 starts. I don't know how many starts, actually. In 9 appearances, versus the Blue Jays in his career. So if that tells you anything, maybe there's a shot.
I do. Can I ask you this, though? Does it tell you anything? Like, I've always found, especially in baseball, when they're like lifetime against the Blue Jays, and I'm like, he's played for 13 years. That means he's hit against the best starters we've ever had and the worst that we've ever had. So I've always found that like lifetime against, but we can't kid ourselves. David Ortiz ate the Jays. Like, maybe it's just that some guys can see each other better, like in terms of seeing the pitch out of the hand. But look, all I know is this: I don't want to face Tyler Glasnow. Even those, like, when you say, oh, these really good pitchers are having a tough season, they got a 4-something ERA. I'm just like, yeah, but I think if you ask around the majors, people would still rather take most other starters over Tyler Glasnow, right? So I always respect the track record and the stuff of the pitcher. Like, look at Barrios, man. 2 years ago, that wasn't Jose Barrios, but you know, he's still got nastier stuff than most of the people in the league. He just wasn't being able to harness it. So I think they're going to take one, my friend. I think it's going to be tomorrow's. I really do.
I'm gonna shock you, Drew.
But I'm actually just.
Oh, did I lose you? Are you still there? I'm gonna shock you. I'm gonna say they're gonna win today and they're gonna win tomorrow.
No, I'm still here, brother.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? It's totally possible. It really is. But the thing is, they're going to start to hit. We just have to keep saying it. Bo Bichette is not a bad hitter. Full stop. All right? Like, he's just not. He may not be hitting right now, but he's not a bad hitter.
Well, as we're talking, Kikuchi just threw the first pitch, so I'm going to say, Drew, it's been a nice time catching up with you this week. We'll see you next week. I'm saying it real quick. Jays are going to take today's game and tomorrow's. Let's go Blue Jays. Let's go all the way.
All right, let's go Blue Jays. Let's go all the way. See you next week, buddy.
Have a good one.